Hello and welcome back to the Daily Bible Summary, where the goal is to renew your mind as we read a new chapter every day and ask the question, what can I learn? Today's episode is entitled, God Keeps All His Promises. So if you've read chapter 36, let's get started. Chapter 36 is a genealogy, and it's a long list of Esau's descendants and the nation that he founded. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not going to walk through every name. Many of them, probably at least half of them, I would badly mispronounce. So rather than stumble through difficult names, let's step back and ask, why does Moses include this entire chapter here? In other words, is there anything we can learn from it? And the first question is, why include it now? Now, I think it's probably because it's just an appropriate time, since Esau was just brought back into the storyline at Isaac's burial. After this chapter, the focus will become on Jacob and his sons, and mostly on Joseph. So at this moment, Moses takes advantage of Esau's mention to show God's faithfulness to Esau. You see, when God makes a promise, he keeps it, every single time. God had promised about Esau that he would become a great nation, and he kept that promise. We've been following Jacob's story closely because he's the covenant line, the line through which the Messiah is going to come. But don't forget, back in Genesis 25 and verse 23, God told Rebekah that two nations were in her womb. And in Genesis 27, verses 39 and 40, Isaac blessed Esau, saying he would live by the sword and eventually break free from Jacob's rules, and that would actually apply to his descendants. God promised Esau would have descendants, land, and become a nation. And this genealogy here is the proof that God kept that promise. Esau's descendants became known as Edom, a significant nation with territory in Seir, southeast of the Dead Sea. They had chiefs, they had kings, they had an organized society. And so one reason for this chapter is just to show that God didn't forget Esau just because Jacob got the covenant blessing. He kept his words in regard to both of the brothers. Second, this genealogy does set up for future conflicts. The descendants of the two brothers will form the nations Edom and Israel. They will be cousins and will have a complicated relationship throughout their years. Remember back in Genesis 27:41, Esau was plotted against Jacob and planned to kill him? Well, Esau did seem to have changed. The grudge he had once harbored, or something like it, lived on in his descendants. Later in Scripture, we'll see Edom refuse to let their cousin Israel pass through their territory during the Exodus out of Egypt in Numbers 20. We'll see ongoing conflicts between the two nations, and the entire book of Obadiah is a prophecy of judgment against Edom for their pride and violence towards Israel. But again, what we do see here is that God was faithful to his promises, so the later hostility wasn't because God had abandoned Esau. It was because Esau, or Edom, actually I should say Edom, chose to nurture the grudge rather than pursue peace. As for applications to our life, we can see that first, God is faithful to all his promises, not just the big ones. We tend to focus on the main storyline, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the 12 tribes, and the Messiah. That's the covenant line, and it is central to God's plan. But God didn't only fulfill those promises. He also, as we've said, kept his word to Esau. Esau got a nation. Esau got land. Esau got descendants who became chiefs and kings. Romans 4 verse 21 says of Abraham that he was fully convinced that God was able to do what he had promised. We can have the same confidence. So here's some thought questions for you. What promises has God made to you that you might be tempted to doubt? How does his fulfillment in Esau's life help you to realize that he will also be faithful in your life? Second, God's blessings aren't a zero-sum game. Jacob's blessings didn't cancel Esau's, and God blessed both brothers. Sometimes we fall into the trap of thinking that if God is blessing one person, that means fewer blessings for us. We see someone else's business growing and worry that ours won't. We see someone else getting a promotion and assume we've been passed over. We see someone else's prayers answered and wonder if God has forgotten us. That's not how God works. And he's definitely not dividing up a finite, limited supply of blessings. He blessed Jacob with a covenant and gave Esau a nation. Both can be true at the same time. Ephesians chapter 3, verse 21, just verse 20, says, God is able to do far more abundantly than all we ask or think, according to the power at work within us. We should not limit God, and we should not think of His blessings as diminishing His blessing of ourselves. And in taking note of this, we can be generous too with the blessings God's given us because, hey, God's got more blessings to give. So, do you ever feel jealous when you see God blessing others? Do you trust that God has an abundant amount of blessings for you too, or do you think His blessings are limited? Tomorrow, Lord willing, we'll return to Jacob's family and see how Joseph's dreams set in motion events that will change the entire family's future. As we reflect on God's faithfulness to keep all His promises, even those outside the covenant line, we continue each day to renew our minds.